Hey gamers, welcome to the Part-Time Gamers Club where we game part-time but support gaming all the time. For those of you tuning back in, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And if it's your first time here, welcome to the crew. I'm Gio, alongside me is Gerard and Mike, as well as our special guest, Callie. And on today's episode, we're discussing the background NPC. The reason we're discussing it is because one of the major things we've noticed in gaming recently is the change in woman characters, mainly in the Western gaming companies' views. So I came across this video through an Asmon Gold video, surprisingly enough, and thought I'd share it with the group. Wanted to get you guys' feedback, see how you guys thought and felt about the video and some of the points she made. So Gerard, Catley, give us your input.
So, on the surface, I agree with the premise of the video that women in games should be able to be feminine, but the issue with the video is that she's contradicting herself a lot. The line that really stuck out to me was they don't need exposition or 80 cutscenes. They show up, drop one line, and then the whole internet cosplays. So, this kind of proved to me that this was about looks and not story. Her video was just kind of all over the place in the point she was actually trying to make. And on the surface, it's a valid point. Video games should showcase all kinds of people, but the onus and the idea that, femininity is what's lacking, or is it the story that's lacking? Her point was not focused. And that's what was the challenge for me.
Yeah, and for me, and I think I mentioned this the first time I watched it, but I'll mention it again. It is not just the female characters that need to be worked on, as evident in the video as well, because male leads are also suffering, and I think this is not just women are need to be rewritten well and things like that. I just think characters need to be well written at this point. It's just all characters are just falling flat, and women in video games are falling flat for maybe a different reason, but they're all falling flat because they're not well written, and that's just straight up how it is. And now it's just being perceived differently. But I do think Western games, and mostly modern ones, they are looking out for their own, I don't want to say morality, their own kind of perception on their brand, and that is affecting their characters. Either their characters are written flat to look good, or they're written very mysterious that they actually don't tell us anything about themselves. And the worst case of all, maybe they're just written to be used in a story, but not to be written as a person, just written as a plot device. And that's the problem with most of our games, especially in Western video games, because they're not writing stories, they're writing mechanics, and that's the worst.
What do you think, Mike? Before I give
your feedback.
my take.
I do agree. I felt like she wasn't really hitting her points, but then at the same time she does express a view of her viewpoints. But I think what I got from the video is just more of a more balance, trying to per se convey a more balance or range of female characters in gaming. And I do agree with Gerard. If it's well written, it shouldn't really kind of be focused on if she was hot or beautiful or had not more beautiful features or whatever the case may be. If it was part of the storyline and it works, then it should be fine. But what I got, like I said, what I got from the video is just trying to be a more balance and range. But I think it just depends on the writing. If they are playing that part, then write it well. And also the video, she does bring up good points, but it felt I don't know how to say it. It felt all over the place, kind of, in terms of where she was trying to get at.
Random. It was random. And I don't mean the topic was random. I meant
it wasn't. Yeah, the topic wasn't random. I
get what she was trying to say. All the points that she brought up were random.
It was very streamlined.
Yeah,
a lot of contradiction within her points.
It's I get what she was trying to say, it wasn't like enough to reinforce, I guess, what she was maybe trying to say, but I think that was just how I viewed it. But
Mhm.
I'm intrigued on your intake though, Gio.
My take.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I see where you guys are coming from, especially with some of the points being kind of random. But here's what I'll say. So, for instance, I agree with her in the aspect that female characters need to be well written, and something I feel is important is in order for a female character to be well written, it should be written by a female. It is hard for a male to give this perspective of a woman because we don't think like a woman. A woman doesn't think like a man. So really, to get those well-written characters, women have to be involved with the development of those characters and actual feminine, characteristics that you look for when you think about a female character. You can only get that insight from a woman. So, like in certain characters, she was saying that they're like, I guess you could say, complicated at times, but caring and loving, but also fierce. Like, say, Tifa, for instance, she refers to Tifa being strong, battling a behemoth, and then 10 minutes later, she's offering you soup, right? And she's making sure that you slept. That's what you think about when you think of a strong woman. You think of someone that, is independent, but yet caring and supportive. So I agree with that. But one of the points I was also that stuck out to me, and something that does seem to be an issue today with the Western games, especially, is what's wrong with attractive characters. I don't understand where this. I'm not saying that a character can't be unattractive. It doesn't matter. But at the same time, what is this attack on attractive female characters more so than male? I know there is this double standard. We know it's there. It's always there, and it's always towards. I hate to say it this way, but it's true. It always is towards women. When you think about anything when it comes to male and woman perspective, usually the double standard goes towards women, right? If you sleep with a lot of women, the man's considered like, oh, he's a pimp. He's this. A woman sleeps with a lot of men. Oh, she's a hoe. This and that. You know what I mean? So there's always those double standards. So I think my issue with Western game is trying to make women seem more masculine. That's what it seems like with Western games. We don't want our woman to be masculine. We want a woman to be woman. We want them to be feminine, but strong, independent. They can still be strong, independent, and feminine.
I I agree
I think
with
that's
you.
what she was trying to get at, but like I feel like I guess in just in Western games we have I guess a view, and then if we have portray a woman that's beautiful and can be badass,
Mm-hmm.
it may yeah, think about the audience of who's playing the game also. Like I don't know,
They're
I
not
feel like
thinking about
I
those
feel like
things.
nowadays it's just like we pick apart, and now like the developers or the whoever's writing the storyline is just like kind of like rigid in terms of trying to make this character
Mm-hmm.
like because you don't want to offend
One group, and then you
one
got to think
group,
about the
and
other
then
group. Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
and that's just human nature. 'Cause, we're always gonna find
Mm-hmm.
something we may not
To
like,
critique.
and it may affect what you do
Mm-hmm.
creatively. Because maybe higher ups are saying, hey, we need to make this type of character, whatever the case may be. And this, like I said, I'm not deep into the gaming world where I
Yeah.
understand the thought process and but I think that's just part of why like you see it now is like, well, you can't have it both ways, kind of thing. So that's why they maybe be rigid into. That's why like I agree with Gerard. Like it has to be well written. If it's written that this person is an attractive, which is subjective to everybody, right? What's
It's
attractive to
true.
us,
It's true.
different for you guys. But but when you think of it, you think of it like a hot. I'm not gonna say let's be honest, like an attractive hot person being badass, and people are gonna probably gravitate to that. But people will realize if there's nothing behind it, there's no story, there's no
Mm-hmm.
range, like in the what she was trying to say, the range of the character.
The depth.
It may, yeah, it may fall flat. But I just think it's just in today's society, I think it's just picking.
I think that like with that, like yes, people want to look at attractive characters, But I think one of the issues with especially like female main characters is that a lot of the times gamers treat having to play a woman as like a punishment, and they feel like because of that they deserve a reward for having to play as one, and that reward is the character being hot. When you're playing a character, oh, you have to play a woman, but she has a really fat ass, so when you're running you get to look at it, and it's these things that are, while on the surface are absolutely fine, it becomes like, oh, I have to play a woman, so what am I getting out of it? Because I am, low. You guys did that Ghost of Yote video, and there were comments on that about like,
I still remember that comment.
Oh, I have to play as a woman, I can't connect with them, but you can connect with the concept of being a demon samurai, like that. Like, it is so much easier for some gamers, and male gamers especially, to identify with these outlandish concepts of being a spacecraft alien warlord, or a samurai, or an assassin in, Renaissance Italy. But the idea of having to be a woman is so separate to them that they can't even conceptualize it. And on the note of femininity, what does it mean? What does femininity mean? It's a really popular buzzword in gaming right now, but the things that she attributes as being feminine in her video were things like being soft-spoken, being gentle, apologizing for inconveniencing the main character, quiet, not smudging your lipstick, and running around in 6-inch heels. And Gio, you even brought up the character Tifa, like, fighting, but then offering someone soup and comfort. Is that femininity? Is that womanhood? It's those things that are, they're not always. They're not. And,
No.
I see online, like, people saying, oh, this new woman main character in this game is so ugly. Why isn't she feminine? Why isn't she beautiful? And it's just a normal looking human woman. And it's like, yeah, women in games should be well written, but we only have this conversation about women in games. Like, it's the idea that women have to earn their place by being attractive. They have to earn their place in the world by being something men want to look at, and that's where it breaks down for me. Women should be allowed to be ugly in all spaces. They should be allowed to, if I'm in a zombie apocalypse, I'm not worrying about lip gloss. If I'm in that Resident Evil town, I'm not gonna be in 6-inch heels. I'm busy. I'm running from zombies or cultists or whatever. And it's like, being hot is not the currency that women have to exchange for the privilege of existing in this space.
I was gonna say, Jill Valentine's is hot and did have no makeup in that zombie apocalypse.
And if she were made today,
She was naturally beautiful.
They did remake Resident Evil
she's so
2.
dewy. She's
And
so
Claire.
dewy.
And Claire.
Yeah, and women can
And
be
Ada.
strong and badass and
Ada's wearing
beautiful
lipstick, so.
and well written, but we don't have these conversations about male characters. They don't have to be they don't have to be everything and more.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I think the biggest problem.
Go ahead. I was
No,
just
no,
gonna tack on with the idea that women have to be attractive in order to be perceived is actually often not just in video games. It's also in other places like movies and other entertainment
Music.
industries and music,
Mhm.
where that is a criteria for women to actually be successful. Like,
Mhm.
you can't.
Talking about Lizzo?
Yeah, thank you.
Lizzo.
Yeah. She's trying to extend body positivity and showing that, hey, like, I can have this body and it is a beautiful, like, aspect of me. And
Play
also,
a flute, run around on stage.
yes. be
Stamina.
themselves. And time again, we see that there are like multiple bodies and multiple ways women can look, and that does not affect their success, nor does it affect their personality as much. There is a lot of people that they can derive from, and then a woman doesn't need to be attractive for that to be like a woman. The thing is also though is that when you have flat boards and then people are complaining that, oh, you make them attractive because they're women, then you make them not attractive but they're still flat boards. Now you have two problems. You have the original problem of them not being well written, and then you have the other problem of now you're making them ugly because people were complaining that you were making dumb attractive women. Now you have dumb ugly women, or not ugly women, but like beautified women.
It's like the pendulum has swung too far. It's like, oh, okay, we're gonna fix it. And I do think that she, in the video, like, she has some valid points. I agree with the onus of the video that women in video games and all kinds of media should be complex. They should have interesting stories, but so should male characters, so should non-binary characters. I don't want to play a game that is like a narrative game that has a bad narrative, but that should go without saying. It shouldn't be the caveat of, well, I need my women to be well written. Why don't you need your men to be well written? Why can they just point and shoot? Like, it is like Gio, you're saying, it's the double standard. The women in video games are being held to a higher standard than any male character, and it becomes exhausting, and it becomes hard to write women, so studios don't want to do it because of potential backlash, instead of investing the time. And Gio, like you said, maybe having like female writers in the room, being in the spaces where these stories are happening and being developed. They just instead hands off completely out of fear of offense, of doing it wrong, of putting in the time and energy and effort, because it is. There's so, like, the issues with it are not so surface level. It's ingrained in, like, it's from the start. It's from childhood and in these spaces where women are told, oh no, you don't engage with that, so there's not as many women in STEM. That's an issue. And it translates into less women in these narrative storytelling spaces, and it becomes a challenge across the board. And it's really hard for companies to invest in that because it's easier to not.
Well, how can I say? I feel more the companies they put too much propaganda and agendas into these games on the Western side, mainly the Western side, compared to, because she mentions it, Eastern games, companies like Capcom, they kill it with their female characters. Like, it's usually spot on. We named a couple of them, and Final Fantasy is another one that does a good job. Like she mentioned Yuna, we mentioned Tifa. I think the problem that I see, but I said Final Fantasy. I said Capcom and then Final Fantasy as well.
Yeah, you were like naming Final Fantasy. I was like, is Final Fantasy the only place we find good?
No. But you think about Chun-Li from Capcom. You think about
Chun-Li has been a icon of over-sexualized individuals in a long time. Because thinking about it, when Chun-Li was first released, she didn't have story, like a huge, immense backstory. In order to figure out her backstory, you have to read the manual. That's how old she came out.
Yeah. I remember those days. Yeah, when they had the little biography on the. Yeah, you remember that? But she was badass. She was hot, but she was badass, right? Even male gamers like to play Chun-Li. She was a good character to play. So, what I'm trying to get at is, like you were saying, like, female characters, male characters, they don't have to be necessarily attractive, right? But it does help. Let's be honest. It just does help, because at the end of the day, it's a game. Gaming is a male-driven industry right now. It just is. It is what it is. Like I recently read a poll.
It is, but it definitely is right now.
Yeah, but
at least from the beginning.
Yeah,
it's hard to get out of the
correct.
norm.
Well, even though, like, so statistically, me and Gerard were having this debate of female gamers, and I think it was who was I listening to? It was one of the reactors, either Legendary Drop. I don't think it was Legendary Drop. It might have been Doctor Disaster. Um, he brought up a good point because Nintendo did a poll recently of their gamers of Switch players to see what's the majority of their players. 83% were male players, and that surprised me because if I thought there was a console or gaming system that would be more female players towards, it'd be Nintendo. I think actually, probably now after reading that number, I think probably the highest level or biggest percentage of female gamers is probably PC, besides mobile. Mobile is probably the number that gives, because me and Gerard were debating. He's like, he thinks it's more closer to 60-40. I still think it's like a 70-30, 80-20. That's what I think, realistically. So when you talk about female characters not being necessarily attractive, but they can still look feminine. Like, they shouldn't have like male structured jawlines. If you look at the female character from Outlaws, who she was designed after or supposed to look like was completely different from the way they drew her up. Now, that's the problem with Western games, because I feel like what they're having right now is all this activism and pushing all these agendas and getting away from just what's wrong with appreciating somebody that looks attractive. Like, everybody's attracted to attractive people. That's just natural. It's natural to be attracted to something like beauty. So I don't understand why they put that focus on looks so much. I get it. Maybe you want everybody to relate to a certain character, but that's not working because sales says otherwise. And you have to go with the majority. If you're going to focus on the well, numbers say it. You have to go with the majority. Your sales aren't there. There's a lot of games that have bombed because they've pushed activism over
I would say
gaming.
Again, just because they're being activists, I don't think that's the problem with the game. Even if you take the political and the agendas out of it, it was still a bad game. Like, a good example is always Dragon Veil or Dragon Age Veilguard. But like, them pushing an agenda is one thing, all right? If you can push an agenda, you can push an agenda if you're in a place of power. But you still need to provide, for whatever reason, your propaganda, your agenda, whatever you want to call it. You need to make sure that it lands well. And it doesn't land well if you're doing it in a video game and the video game sucks. Okay? They, like, in the example of Dragon Age, it's not well written, because even the queer character is not well written. And like, they have scenes.
Nothing about that game is well done.
Yeah, they have scenes where it's supposed to be emotionally impactful and things like that, and then it's written like a fucking wet napkin, like was drawn on in the cafe and got spilled coffee on it, and they couldn't read the words. Okay, because it's so bad to have a queer character trying to have an emotional space to come out to their parents where their parents are not accepting them, and it sounds like whining. And that is like literally the worst, because like, how they writ like Last of Us did it well. Even though like I've talked about Last of Us 2, the problem I have with that game, nothing about Ellie being queer. That was never my problem, okay? My problem was them killing off Joel so early on with no context, okay? That was my problem with that game.
Like every other gamer, like
exactly.
At that time. And then it just got progressively worse.
Yeah, I'm just like, Ellie is a good example. Like, in Last of Us 2, very masculine presenting, but still attractive. Has that attractive tomboy energy.
We said the minorities, like, you got to understand what the majority is and the minority. So, like, that's me expecting. All right, so and the problem is we put too much. There's too much sexuality put into the video games, right? We didn't really do that back in the days. That wasn't 90s gaming and early 2000s, right?
I don't think that's.
I think there was only sexuality in the back.
I mean, think about like Lara Croft Tomb Raider original.
Yeah.
And even like. and even up Chun-Li, like, these are like Bayonetta's original outfits, like it like Gio, what you're saying, like with the attractiveness, and to bring it back to the background NPC's video, that's where the conflict comes in, because you're talking about it also, she talks about it, do you want, and you as the general, but like, do you want well-written women, or is it the looks that are more important? Do you want someone hot that you can cosplay that has one line and then goes away? And so that's where the like contradiction for me is coming in, because what she's saying and what you're saying, like, yes, you can have attractive characters. We want to look at attractive people, but I think that people use I want them to be well written as this kind of defense, when actually they just want to look at hot people. And if that's what it is,
I
like,
think that's
own it. And the things that, again, the femininity angle, what is femininity? What things are inherently unfeminine about some of these characters? You bring up jawline, but there are women with certain jawline. All kinds of women exist. All kinds of womanhood exists. And these stereotypical notions of femininity are impractical. I think that video games and media should show all kinds of people and all kinds of stories. You're right that gaming is especially male driven at the moment, but the numbers are changing all the time, slowly, and a lot of it is due to women are dissuaded from being in video games, from being in nerd spaces. I look how I look. I experience the world as a non-binary person, but I experience the world with a lot of being raised in womanhood and femininity and these things. And being in nerd spaces is always something I've enjoyed, but I've never really felt accepted in those spaces. I'm a big comic book nerd. I love comics. I've been reading comics since I was a kid. The amount of times I've been in a comic shop and been treated as less than. We were in a comic shop and I was asking questions. I was trying to pick up some certain books, and the man behind the register would not look at me. He was only talking to Gerard. Every single response he was giving to my questions was directed at him. I've gone into comic spaces to buy the Saga Compendium. It's like all 50. It's the first like 50 issues, and they wouldn't order it from me because the guy said it was only for serious collectors. And I'm trying to buy a comic. When people like me are kept out of these spaces, the stories that you're gonna get are less complex, because we all have different lived experiences. I can never know what the world is like as a person of color. You guys can never know what the world is like as a woman, or maybe a queer person for some of you. Like, there are aspects of life that we experience uniquely, and narratives, stories, movies, media should be the way that we learn about those other lives and viewpoints outside of just like knowing people like that. So I think it's important that women in games can be feminine, can be whatever masculine means, can be ugly, can be beautiful, can be complicated and mean and boring and all of these other things.
I don't know about boring.
Well,
Boring in a video
I don't
game
think
is
every
Like
star...
simple.
Simple,
Well,
or like
let me ask you
simple
this.
is fine.
like
Boring
cozy gaming.
in a
Like,
video
not
game.
every character in Stardew is interesting. I'm sorry. What a
Name one.
the little girl. What's her face?
Lily?
I don't know what they're talking about.
No, Stardew. It's a cozy game. But like, all kinds of narratives should be in games, because there should be a game for everyone. And yes, at this point, that's impractical. But I'd like us to get to a point where it's not.
It's not. It's not. Here's the thing I was trying to get to the point with AAA gaming and Western games, especially, is you're right. There should be games for everyone. But if you're going to put your major titles, that should be attracting a majority audience, you make a separate game for that. If you put that in your main titles, like you do in like Assassin's Creed, like they put this agenda, that's how you destroy your franchises. Because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, everybody views the world differently, right? We know this. And at the end of the day, whether I agree with how the other 2-3 billion men think or not, they're the majority. So you cater those games to them. Now you can do side projects that help communities that are smaller, that are not the majority, get into gaming and find a space in gaming. But when you push it upon the majority and say, oh, you're being a bigot or you're being racist because you're not accepting this in our games. No, this is not what they asked for. Your majority, that's like me going up to a customer and, because we talked about this, Gerard, in retail, and saying, no, you're going to buy this because, this is what you should get. You're pushing that on me. You're telling me I should have to accept this, that I should be cool with this. That's not how things work. That's not how it should work. You got to get over the fact that not everybody thinks the same way, and you have to cater as a business to your customer. And their biggest customers are men and heterosexual men. That's the problem. And like you said, yes, does it get sexualized and it's over-sexualized? True. But at the end of the day, these are males. These are jocks. These are nerds. These are geeks. They have fantasies of beautiful women. That's just the way it is. In reality, that's how it is. But that's where these gaming industries are going wrong, the corporate business, because you should make games for that group, but don't touch your major franchises. If one of those games turns into a major franchise, that's different. You can do what you want to do with that game because that community is supporting it. But when you're developing games for a community that's not supporting the game and then expecting the other gamers, your majority gamers, to support the game that they never asked for, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong there. You can't dictate to your customer what they should and shouldn't play. That's just how I look at it.
And I hear you like that. It makes sense on some level, but again, then the core of what her video was saying isn't true. It's
What's
not
that?
like is the issue that these women aren't well written? Or is the issue that these women aren't feminine?
It's a combination.
But
it's a combination. Because what Gerard says,
based on person. I think the majority of people, the majority of gamers, the ones that are, well, basically what Gio's friend, the majority, they want more feminine characters, not more well-written characters. And that's very apparent because there's a lot of bad written games out there and people are complaining about non-feminine characters rather than it not being well written the DEI, and that's pissing me off.
Then just say that instead of hiding it behind like, oh well, they're not well written, and that's the issue.
That's mine.
She was speaking, but this is what I liked hearing it from a female perspective because she was speaking from 2 points of views. Like she was speaking about it from the written aspect as well as the visual aspect. Because it's nice to hear that a woman likes to look at another attractive woman. Why does it just have to be a male thing? Like we're only just these sexual beings that we only see women as a sexual object. Why can't we just admire? Yeah, true. But why can't we just admire the beauty of a woman? Let's be honest. I'm being honest. This is me. There's nothing I find more beautiful than a beautiful woman. That's just me being honest. An attractive woman is an attractive woman. Like I like to look at it. What's wrong with that?
Well, what's your definition of attractive? That's
nothing's wrong with it. I love looking at attractive women too. But
that's all we want to hear.
I think that's because I think there's just I need a balance probably. Will you still play a game if they wasn't as attractive to you but have a good storyline? Will you still play the game though?
And I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So,
games aren't made for me.
But
So I think it's a need for balance, and it's either one end of the spectrum to the other end. So I
Yeah.
think it's the need is a more balanced,
yeah, yeah.
well-written
Yes.
female characters. But I get to Gio's point. I do get Gio's point. The majority is right now, as it is a majority guy-driven industry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
And
but you're not
simple-minded men that
simple-minded,
like
man. Yeah,
like Gerard said.
but if
And
the companies are focusing on that,
Mhm.
there's no really change into trying to build up the other percent of where the females are playing. You know,
But that's why I
instead of
said
making
make
but
those
you make
games
but
I
why you have to make separate games
I
to
will
have to
because
prove?
that's what you have to do.
I will
I get the
say
point, but like it's just
yeah, I will say final thoughts for everyone as we're
Mhm.
getting up. Does anyone have any final things to add before we end this video? Uh,
I do think
just be
that
balanced.
yeah, balance, but like within the reason that there's so much positivity and positive response around the background NPC's video is that she's saying the things that men in gaming want to hear. She's saying the things that people like Asmongold want to be able to point to and say, well, why are you upset about this? This woman doesn't care. But when women speak up about not just video games, but having opinions online, they get death threats. They get threats of rape
Oh yeah, people
and
just
abuse
yeah,
and all
they
kinds of
just talk
things.
shit,
And
stupid stuff.
but there's a fear there.
Mhm.
So she's getting positive response because she's saying what people who are in positions of power want to hear. So it's feeding. It's confirmation bias. So it's easy to say, well, this woman says it's fine, and it's very much like, oh, well, I can say a slur because my friend of this group says it's okay. It's like her video is being used as like, again, currency of, well, she agrees with it. Why can't you? This woman thinks I'm right. Why can't you shut up? Why can't you be quiet and apologize for inconveniencing me and wear 6-inch heels? Like the argument of femininity in games. There's a million different ways to be feminine and to be a woman, and there's something real and palpable about when a female character is released who just looks like a regular woman, maybe going to the grocery store or whatever, she is slammed for being ugly and hideous and masculine. That's just a person, baby. Like, it's just a person. And at the end of the day, like, nothing is going to change in these spaces without actual change happening. And the world is tough. The world's just tough. And I like looking at hot people in games and just own that. Just own that and don't hide it behind like, oh, well, I didn't like this, well, I didn't like that. If it's about whether the character
Is visually
visually
appeasing.
attractive and giant tits, just be honest about it. And this conversation is exhausting because she's right. I am tired of talking about the modern female protagonist because we shouldn't have to. There shouldn't be video essays about this because it's not. We don't have these conversations about male characters. There's not diatribes about male characters. So what are we doing? What are we doing? That's where I'm at with it.
Well, I think
Final
she makes a
thoughts.
great point. Huh?
Final thoughts. Your last thing you say.
Yeah. So I like, but I think with the video though, she because we said this about male leads. I think she also did a great job of saying they need to reinvest in quality male leads because there has been a problem in the industry too with good male leads. And then the problem is that they're trying to take a lot of male lead roles to put more feminine lead roles, which, like I said, it's still a male-driven industry. So you gotta focus to the majority, whether you like it or not. And even though men still support female-driven lead games, but you have to create the woman that they fantasize about. That's just the reality about it. It sucks to say it that way, But it was nice to hear a woman say, yeah, I like to look at attractive women too, because it wasn't so much, I get what you're saying, that it was confirming how we felt, but it was more so because the industry has been knocking men for liking that. And then basically making us feel, and I say us, even though I'm not entirely with them in that part, but making us feel like we're less than, like we're shallow, we're little boys, because all we look at as a woman is this specimen, sexual specimen, so to speak. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's not entirely true. So it was nice to hear someone else say it, and it be from the opposite sex.
My final thought is
Mike? Oh.
Mike, do you want to have a final thought? Because mine is going to be very short.
I mean, I just say just bring balance to it,
Yeah.
and just if you want change, it needs to come from the companies, and like I said, be more balanced.
For me,
I'll keep it that.
yeah, for me, I like hot. I honestly find a majority of body types of just everyone is hot. Like, I like
I like thick Latinas.
I
I'm not.
I like the feminine, like poppy preppy. I like the goths. I like the tomboys. Like I even go for butch, and that requires like almost every single body type right there. I don't mind as much about ugliness and beautifulness. I would love to stare at something like for a very long time, okay? But at the end of the day, I'm playing a video game for an experience, okay? If what I'm looking at looks pretty, but they talk like they are written by AI, I can't relate to that person. I can't find that person attractive, because in my mind, that person might as well be a computer, and they're taking a Turing test and they're failing miserably.
I was going to tell you, though, that is still realistic, because there's some girls that look beautiful that are just like talking to the wall.
Yeah, that's true. But that's my point. I honestly would like more emphasis and more time devoted to well-maintained or well-written storylines and things like that. Then we can gripe on visuals. Let's get that baseline done first, all right? Because if there's an ugly character who is well-written, and that's the problem, is that they're ugly, all right, we can have a conversation then. But for right now, video games aren't good, and I don't care what they look like. If they aren't good, I don't want to play them. And that's just straight up.
This is towards the AAA game industry, too.
This is AAA, and this is
mainly
more towards Western. Because Westerns, not only are they, I say desexualizing, but like uglifying majority of... Uglifying. I'm going to use some words. Uglifying.
I like that. We're going to make a t-shirt out of that.
Because they don't want to have backlash. They still didn't fix their main problem of just having poorly written games.
True.
So that's my go-to. All right. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you leave a like and a comment down below on your thoughts on the modern video game protagonists and characters. And what's your favorite body type of woman or man?
Don't.
Let me know.
No.
No.
No. Wrong.
What?
Hey, I hear that dad bod seems to be the winner most of the time. Believe it on those polls. Just saying.
Look.
Put more dad bods in video games.
I'm all for dad bods. All right.
The dad bod.
They did that. They did that with Kratos. God of War Kratos kind of changed. He wasn't that muscular, like.
Yeah. Stop over-sexualizing men, video games. How about that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We have feelings, too.
Yeah, make a body that looks like me. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.